Hello everyone, and welcome to Clunking Through History. My name is The Clunk, and I will be guiding you through the historical videos that we're going to be posting with some memes and jokes along the way. Before we start, however, I'm going to have the quick disclaimer that I'm not a historian. No one on this YouTube channel is a historian. We cannot be credited as historians, so take everything we say with a grain of salt. We will put links and data as to where our sources came from in the video descriptions of every video we make, but something might still not be accurate. If this is the case, you can leave a nice and polite comment. Just don't be an asshole about it. Thank you very much, and enjoy the video. And today, we will be looking into the Greek city-states, more or less the giant political and economical shitshow that was the Greek city-states ancient Greek period. To be honest, looking at this period is an absolute marvel that it even managed to exist and thrive the way it did, with the constant infighting, constant trade conflicts, and among other human rights violations, so to speak. It is just a ginormous mess. Today, however, we're just going to be talking about the most major cities, and this is part 1 of the video, and I do not have time to describe all of the details and descriptions about all the other cities, since there is just so godforsakenly many. Right, let's start off with the most prominent and the first city on our list, that being the city of Athens. Now, if anyone knows, Athens is the current capital of Greece, but back in the day, it was, well, already extremely big. It was a major naval and trading power, having much influence over the Greek peninsula and beyond, also having trade outposts in Anatolia, places in Egypt, and some areas in Africa. Athens can be contributed to a lot of things: their arts, their culture, their food. A lot of these things that they used to make still exist in Greece today and across the wider world. However, their main contribution to society, well, some call it a contribution, others call it a detriment, was the basic form of democracy. Now, we're not talking about democracy as it is nowadays, where you vote either between an asshole and another asshole. We're talking about the democracy where you just vote because, well, you can. Of course, only the men could do this, and only the rich and powerful men. The funny joke is that it's called a patriarchy a lot. Whilst it's not really a patriarchy if you look at it, it was more or less just, if you're rich, you can do whatever you want, and if you're not, you have no influence. Kind of seems like it's the same way these days. Anyway, moving on to Sparta, the ancient city of Sparta. Well, I mean, at this point, if you read anything into the Greek city-states, or if Hollywood has projected it into your brain at this point, you probably know Sparta for their warriors, let's be honest, and their conquests, and their never-giving-up style of militaristic combat. But Sparta was also a major trading partner, having a lot of trading influence, not as much as Athens, of course, since their navy was not as powerful. But they did have many strategical regions around them, many with farmlands, which they used to great avail to be able to actually cultivate, well, a bunch of cash crops that they were able to then sell to Athens once again for major money, which is kind of the funny thing here, is that even though Sparta and Athens were rivals for pretty much all of the time that they were in existence, they also were each other's major trade partners when it came to raw goods or luxury goods and things like that. Now we're going to talk about some of the other influential city-states. Now there is something that does need to be taken into consideration here. If you look up a map of the Greek city-states back in these times, you will see that a lot of these areas have been painted red for Sparta or blue for Athens. But realistically, the city of Athens and Sparta weren't this big. However, they had much influence and control of surrounding city-states. These city-states that they had influence and control over and pretty much made into their either puppet or vassal or an alliance with, also had quite influence on their own part. These weren't completely subservient to Athens or Sparta, but in most of these cities that I'm about to name, were closely linked to them either by force or by will. First off, we're going to talk about the city of Corinth. Now, Corinth is, if you look at the location, it is on the narrow stretch that attaches the mainland of Greece with the Peloponnese region. So pretty much a ginormous trade hub, because everything that wanted to go from down to up or up to down came in there. It also had a temple of Apollo, which if you, in the rest of this video, pretty much every Greek city-state that I'm about to name has a temple for Apollo. However, this one was incredibly large. They also had an acropolis, such as the same one as in Athens. Well, not the same, but you get my drift. And the region was once again surrounded with fertile land, which is obviously great when you're trying to make a lot of money and feeding your populace. But that came second, let's be honest. They also had access to two gulfs, that being the Saronic and the Gulf of Corinth, which pretty much let it trade even further because it had easy access to the sea. And it had an advantage over Sparta and Athens because it was in the middle between both and it was able to trade between both. It was able to make trade deals that favored itself more than the other two city-states. This didn't last forever, obviously. Once the Peloponnese War started, shit kind of hit the fan very quickly. Now we're going to talk about the ancient city of Thebes. Thebes is in central Greece, and it was very influential in that region because it had something called the Botanian Plain, which is an incredibly fertile land region. It also thrived agriculturally, and it was a major player when it comes to Greek politics and conflicts. But the city is most known for its role in the mythological stories of Greece. For example, the major one being the Seven Against Greece. And the Seven Against Thebes in some places. It's two stories. Some call them Seven Against Greece, or some call them Seven Against Thebes. We're going to go with Thebes here since we're talking about the city itself, obviously. It also had some, well, how do I say this in a nicer way? It just had major agricultural wonders. It's insane about what these people managed to build in these times. One of them being the Cadmea, which is a ginormous fortified acropolis, and once again the Grand Temple of Apollo Ismenos, which is, you get my drift. And pretty much throughout this history, which is interesting about Thebes, it wasn't necessarily all prosperity. It kind of went up and down, mainly due to trade routes changing, but it did leave a major contribution to the culture, which is now Greece. Next, we're going to talk about Rhodes. Now, Rhodes is interesting because Rhodes isn't just a city-state, as you might name it. It's also an island. However, on the island of Rhodes, there was also the city-state of Rhodes, which was part of the Dodecanese island group, which is in the southeastern Aegean Sea, just below Turkey. As one of the major ancient city-states, Rhodes was strategically positioned for maritime trade, which pretty much meant that it played a crucial role in Mediterranean commerce between Africa, Egypt, and the Greek city-states. And it was renowned for its massive harbor, which was the finest in the ancient world, and is also where the whole famous Colossus of Rhodes comes from, which is sort of mythological, also not. There is evidence that it existed there, but they don't exactly know how tall it really was, because paintings depicting the Colossus made it seem like it was so tall it could tower the island 2 times over. However, whatever statue that was there most likely collapsed either due to an earthquake or natural disaster. The other point about Rhodes to make is that it has mild climate, as in it's not too hot, not too cold. It's pretty much perfect for agriculture, visiting, all these things, which make it a sought-after destination for travelers, traders, and warriors alike, at least in those times. Nowadays, it's just the British tourists. Next up, we're going to move to another famous British tourist destination, that being Crete. Now, Crete had a lot of its own kingdoms in its day, but we're going to be talking about one of the major ancient cities that existed there, that being the ancient city of Knossos. Now, Knossos also has a fortification, which is massive, and this is from the ancient Bronze Age. But we thought we needed to mention this because of the fact that the Minoans made this settlement. And the Minoans are a incredibly important ancient civilization when it comes to ancient Greek culture, because they pretty much set the basis up for the thriving cultural and economic centers around the world. At least the Mediterranean world, which at that point in time could be considered the world. It was also known for its impressive palace complex, which if you can ever go and see it. It is insane that it exists to this day and the way that it's preserved. And it covered an absolute vast area. It also has intricate architecture and colorful frescoes, and it obviously showcased the Minoans' advanced artistic skills. So that would be Knossos on Crete. Next, we're going to be talking about Argos. Now, Argos is one of the most oldest and most important city-states in ancient Greece, and it's located in the northeastern Peloponnese region, which is in southern Greece. Argos held a strategic position, allowing it to control key land routes and access to the sea. This is obviously like most Greek city-states, however, this one had the specific spot of being in northeastern Peloponnese region, so it had not that much competition. It's also a rich city when it comes to the mythological history, and it was the center of worship for the goddess Hera. Very friendly character. Argos was also known for its strong military and played a significant role in various Greek conflicts and alliances throughout history, aiding Sparta and Athens alike. It also had a major agricultural industry, and it contributed to the city's prosperity by selling these to either surrounding city-states or mostly Athens. Next, we're going to be talking about Epirus. Now, Epirus is interesting because it existed and stopped existing many times. The ancient city of Epirus is located in the northwestern part of ancient Greece, and it encompasses diverse landscapes ranging from rugged mountains to fertile valleys. The main city of Epirus, known as Dodonea, famed for its ancient oracle, which, here comes the funny stuff, dedicated to Zeus and the sacred oak tree where prophecies were believed to be delivered. Now, if you're wondering how dedicated and devoted people were to this oracle, you could pretty much sum it up to: the oracle tells you that you have to throw your baby off a fucking cliff, and the people did this. So, now you know. Epirus was also a significant center of culture and commerce with important trade cities like Nicopolis and Ambracia. And the strategic area of which Epirus was in allowed it to maintain strong ties with neighboring regions and participating actively in the affairs of the broader Greek world. So a very influential Greek city-state. This would be the end of the first part of our video about the Greek city-states. I most likely have a bunch of angry Greek farmers, peasants, and people yelling at me, Oppa, and trying to kill me or assassinate me for my shitty pronunciations when it comes to these things. However, you have to realize that English is not even my first language, so this was all quite difficult for me. I hope it was okay to listen to, and the video was edited funnily and nicely in a way that you enjoy. If you did, like, subscribe, do the whole YouTuber, whatever the hell thing. And if you don't, well, disliking doesn't matter anymore because they removed that function. Okay, have a very nice day wherever you are on this globe, planet, or maybe on Mars. I have no idea. And goodbye. Till next time.